Have you ever looked at a pickup truck and thought, what were they thinking? Like, who greenlit this? We all know the big names, the F-150s, the Silverados, the Rams. But hiding in the shadows of those bestsellers are some of the strangest, most baffling, and most wonderfully bizarre trucks ever built. Trucks with denim interiors, trucks with Viper engines, trucks that were barely trucks at all. Today we are counting down 25 of the strangest pickup trucks that no longer exist. Some were ahead of their time, others were behind it, and a few, well, they were from a completely different timeline altogether. If you enjoy this kind of deep dive into automotive weirdness, go ahead and hit like and subscribe so you do not miss what is coming next. Number 25. The Plymouth Scamp. In 1983, Plymouth decided to try something bold, and by bold, we mean confusing. They took the Dodge Omni platform, a front-wheel drive economy car, slapped a tiny pickup bed on the back, and called it the Scamp. Now, the Scamp name had history. It used to belong to a legitimate muscle-era coupe in the early 70s. This was not that. This was a compact hatchback that somebody forgot to finish. It had a 2.2-liter four-cylinder engine, front-wheel drive, and about as much hauling capability as a shopping cart. The bed was so small you could barely fit a couple of bags of mulch back there. It looked like a car that lost a bet. Plymouth sold about 3,500 of them in a single model year before pulling the plug entirely. Today, finding one in decent shape is like finding a unicorn in a junkyard. Most people do not even know it existed. It was essentially a badge-engineered version of the Dodge Rampage, wearing a different nameplate and selling through Plymouth dealerships. The whole experiment lasted 12 months. And honestly, that might have been the plan all along. Number 24, the Dodge Jeans Machine. Yes, you read that right. In the mid-1970s, Dodge created a special edition pickup truck inspired by blue jeans. The interior was upholstered in denim-style fabric, complete with stitching designed to mimic the texture and look of actual jeans. There were even copper rivets on a truck interior. On the outside, the Jeans Machine came in a deep blue finish with matching striping, and the overall package was aimed at younger buyers who wanted something different from the usual work truck. Underneath the denim vibes, it was just a standard D-Series pickup with a 318 V8 engine. Nothing wild under the hood, but the marketing was pure 1970s gold. This was the era when custom vans and themed vehicles were all the rage, and Dodge leaned into it hard. Only a small number were produced, and today they are collector curiosities. Weird? Absolutely, but also kind of wonderful in that only in the 70s way. Number 23. The Ford Durango. Not the Dodge Durango, this is the other one. In 1979, Ford partnered with a company called National Coachworks to transform the Fairmont Futura, a compact coupe, into a car pickup hybrid. The result was the Ford Durango, and it looked exactly like what it was, a sedan that someone had surgery on. The front half was pure Fairmont. The rear was a functional truck bed grafted onto the body. It came with a 200 cubic inch inline six-cylinder as standard, and it seated 3 on a bench. Between 1979 and 1982, only about 200 to 350 units were ever produced. Most buyers had no idea it even existed. Shifting market preferences killed it before it had a chance. But for a brief moment, the Ford Durango was the answer to a question almost nobody was asking. Number 22, the Volkswagen Rabbit Pickup. In 1980, Volkswagen looked at their little Rabbit hatchback and thought, you know what this needs? A truck bed. And so the Rabbit Pickup was born. Built on the same front-wheel drive platform as the standard Rabbit, this was never meant to replace a real truck. VW marketed it as a practical, fuel-efficient option for small businesses and urban drivers who occasionally needed to haul something. It got impressive gas mileage for its time, somewhere around 35 miles per gallon. but the bed was tiny, the payload was modest, and American buyers who wanted utility still reached for a proper rear-wheel drive truck. Production continued until 1984, and while it never set any sales records, it earned a quiet cult following. Today, clean examples are surprisingly hard to find and increasingly desirable among VW enthusiasts who appreciate its quirky charm. Number 21. The GMC Gentleman, Jim. In 1975, GMC decided that pickup trucks could be fancy, really fancy. The Gentleman Jim was a Sierra Classic variant, dripping with luxury, black and gold paint, bucket seats, an AM/FM 8-track stereo, chrome everywhere. It brought Cadillac energy to the truck world during an era when most pickups still had vinyl bench seats and wind-up windows. Under the hood sat a 350 V8, making about 165 horsepower, which was not exactly thrilling, but that was not the point. The Gentleman Jim was about style, class, and curb appeal. It was more show than go, and it was produced in very small numbers, likely under 2,500 units. Today, it is a standout for collectors who want something different from the usual muscle truck narrative. When every other truck at the show is going for aggressive, the Gentleman Jim is going out for dinner. It was, in many ways, the grandfather of today's luxury truck market, decades before anyone thought to put massaging seats in an F-150. Number 20. The Nissan Nails Concept. Sometimes a truck is so far ahead of its time that it never actually gets built. The Nissan Nails was a concept vehicle presented in the late 1990s, designed as a tiny two-seater truck with a low cargo bed for easy loading. The unusual cabin shape was engineered to maximize interior space within the smallest possible footprint. The press release proudly noted it featured advanced communications tools, including cellular phones, which tells you exactly what era this came from. It was designed for the Japanese market, where small commercial vehicles are essential. Nissan clearly envisioned a radical future for compact trucks, but nobody was ready for it. Only one prototype was ever built, and it vanished into the archives. The concepts it explored, though, are eerily relevant today in the age of electric micro-trucks and urban delivery vehicles. Number 19. The Dodge Rampage. Before the Plymouth Scamp, there was its slightly more successful twin. The Dodge Rampage hit the market in 1982 and lasted until 1984. Like the Scamp, it was based on the Omni platform and featured front-wheel drive, a 4-cylinder engine, and a small pickup bed. It looked like a coupe that someone forgot to finish, and it had a charming mullet quality. Business in the front, party in the back. Dodge sold it as a fuel-efficient alternative to traditional trucks during an era of volatile gas prices. The Rampage was not exactly truck material, but it had a weird appeal. A sporty 2.2 model added some performance flair. About 30,000 were built over its 3-year run, which sounds like a lot until you realize how few survived. These days, the Rampage is a niche collectible that most people walk right past at car shows without a second glance. Number 18. The Ford Explorer Sport. Track. From 2001 to 2010, Ford tried to answer a question nobody confidently asked. What if an SUV had a truck bed? The Explorer Sport Track was exactly that. It took the Explorer platform, stretched the wheelbase, and grafted a small cargo bed onto the back. The result was something that was not quite a truck and not quite an SUV. It rode well enough, and the idea of having SUV comfort with light-hauling capability had appeal on paper. But the execution always felt like a science experiment. The bed was too small for serious truck work, and the whole package was heavier and less efficient than either a proper truck or a standard SUV. Ford gave it 2 generations before quietly retiring it. Today, it is remembered as an interesting footnote in the evolution of crossover vehicles that eventually led to things like the Honda Ridgeline. Number 17. The Jeep Comanche. Between 1986 and 1992, Jeep made a compact pickup called the Comanche. It shared its platform with the Cherokee SUV and looked like someone tried to turn a Wrangler into a hauler. And you know what? It actually worked pretty well. The Comanche had genuine off-road capability, solid construction, and the rugged reputation of the Jeep name behind it. So why is it on this list? Because most people wanted either a Jeep or a truck, not both. The proportions were awkward, the bed was small, and it never quite found its audience. Sales were modest, and Jeep pulled the plug after just 6 years. But here is the thing. The Comanche has gained a massive cult following since its death. Clean examples command serious money now, and the irony is not lost on anyone. The truck nobody wanted has become the truck everybody wants. Number 16. The Studebaker Champ. In the early 1960s, Studebaker was running out of time and ideas. Their answer to the truck market was the Champ, which debuted in 1960. It was essentially a truck bed bolted to the front end of a Lark sedan, and it looked every bit as improvised as that sounds. The Champ had a certain homemade charm, like a vehicle assembled from spare parts and optimism. It was functional enough, but it felt dated before it even hit the showroom floor. Production ended in 1964 when Studebaker began winding down its entire operation. The Champ was one of the last vehicles the company ever made, and it stands as a bittersweet reminder of a once great American automaker fading into history. Finding one today is exceedingly rare, and owning one is more about preserving a piece of industrial heritage than driving a great truck. When a Champ does surface at auction, it draws attention not because it was exceptional, but because it represents the end of an era. Number 15. The Chevrolet S10 Electric. In 1997, General Motors quietly did something nobody expected. They took a standard S10 compact pickup and made it fully electric. This was the world's first electric pickup truck from a major manufacturer, and it happened over 2 decades before the Cybertruck, the Rivian, or the Lightning were even concepts. The S10 Electric used a modified version of the GM EV1 powertrain, featuring an 85-kilowatt AC induction motor producing about 114 horsepower. Its lead-acid battery pack weighed a staggering 1,400 pounds and sat between the frame rails under the bed. Range was roughly 45 to 60 miles on a good day. GM produced about 460 units, mostly leased to fleet customers. When the leases expired, most were crushed, just like the EV1. Only about 60 were actually sold to private owners. It was brilliantly ahead of its time and tragically abandoned. The crushed S10 Electrics can actually be seen in aerial footage from the documentary Who Killed the Electric Car, stacked alongside their EV1 siblings. A handful of survivors still exist today, treasured by collectors who recognize their place in automotive history. Number 14. The Chevrolet Avalanche. From 2001 to 2013, Chevrolet sold one of the most polarizing trucks ever made. The Avalanche had a trick that no other truck could match. You could fold down a panel called the midgate, which extended the bed through the rear of the cabin, creating a massive cargo area. Brilliant idea. But the execution. The first-generation Avalanche was covered in gray plastic body cladding that made it look like it was wearing body armor. People either loved it or absolutely hated it. The blocky design tried to be everything at once: a family hauler, a work truck, and an SUV. Chevrolet cleaned up the styling for the second generation, but by then, the damage was done. The Avalanche earned a small but fiercely loyal following, and those midgate fans will defend their truck to the death. It was strange, practical, and unforgettable, which is exactly why it belongs on this list. Number 13. The Hummer H1 Pickup. When most people think of Hummer, they think of massive, fuel-guzzling SUVs. But every Hummer model was also available in a pickup configuration, and the original H1 truck version was the most absurd of them all. Based on the military Humvee, the H1 pickup weighed over 8,000 pounds, got about 10 miles per gallon on a good day, and was nearly 7 feet wide. Parking it was a full contact sport. The pickup bed was surprisingly small relative to the vehicle's enormous footprint. But for a certain type of buyer, that was the whole point. The H1 was about presence, about making a statement that said, "I do not care about fuel economy, parking spaces, or your opinion." The brand collapsed during the 2008 recession, and these days, an H1 pickup is one of the rarest and most impractical collectible trucks on the planet. It is a rolling monument to excess, and somehow that makes it kind of endearing. Number 12. The Honda Spocket Concept. In 1999, Honda showed the world something truly bizarre at the Tokyo Motor Show. The Spocket was a concept that combined a sports car front end with a pickup truck rear. From the front, it looked like a small, sporty coupe. Walk around to the back, and there was a cargo bed. It featured a 150-horsepower inline four-cylinder hybrid engine with Honda's integrated motor assist system and full-time all-wheel drive. The roof was removable for open-air driving, and the bed could be extended by folding the rear seats down. After touring the American car show circuit in 2000, Honda decided it simply would not sell. Only one prototype was ever built. The Spocket was too weird for the truck crowd and too truck-like for the sports car crowd. It was a vehicle without an audience, and sometimes that is the strangest thing of all. Number 11. The Dodge Dakota Convertible. In the late 1980s, someone at Chrysler looked at the Dakota compact truck and said, "What if we took the roof off?" And incredibly, the answer was yes. The Dodge Dakota Sport Convertible appeared around 1989, and it was exactly what it sounds like, a pickup truck with a soft-top convertible roof. It came with a 3.9-liter V6 engine and genuine truck capability, but the whole package looked and felt a little flimsy. The roll bar seemed more decorative than structural, and the soft top gave the impression that a strong gust of wind might rearrange your afternoon. Dodge produced roughly 3,750 of them, and predictably, they did not sell well. Between this and the Chevy SSR years later, the automotive industry got the message loud and clear. Convertible trucks are a fun idea that nobody actually wants to live with. The Dakota Convertible is now a rare find, with good condition examples going for well under $10,000, making them perhaps the cheapest way to own one of the strangest factory trucks ever built. Number 10. The Ford Ranchero. In 1957, Ford did something revolutionary. They took a two-door station wagon, replaced the enclosed rear with an open truck bed, and called it the Ranchero. It was the first post-war American coupe utility, a car-truck hybrid designed to give buyers sedan comfort with light-duty hauling capability. The idea came from Australia, where Ford had been building similar vehicles called utes since the 1930s. The Ranchero was an immediate hit and stayed in production for 23 years through 7 generations. It shrank when the compact Falcon arrived in 1960, then grew again on the Fairlane and Torino platforms. By the 70s, you could get one with a 429 Cobra jet engine and a shaker hood scoop. Over 500,000 Rancheros were built before it was discontinued in 1979, a victim of changing regulations and shifting buyer preferences. It was strange, beloved, and hugely influential. Without the Ranchero, the El Camino might never have existed, and without either of them, the entire concept of a lifestyle pickup truck might have taken decades longer to arrive. Number 9. The Chevrolet El Camino. If the Ranchero started the conversation, the El Camino turned it into a cultural phenomenon. Chevrolet introduced it in 1959 as a direct response to Ford's success. The first generation lasted just 2 years before being pulled due to disappointing sales. But when it returned in 1964 on the mid-size Chevelle platform, everything changed. Suddenly, the El Camino could be ordered with big block V8s, super sport packages, and all the muscle car goodies of the era. A 1970 SS with the 454 LS6 was a genuine monster that happened to have a truck bed. It became an icon, a vehicle that blurred the line between workhorse and weekend warrior. The El Camino soldiered on until 1987, outliving the Ranchero by 8 years. GMC even made its own version called the Sprint, later renamed Caballero. To this day, the El Camino is the most beloved car-truck hybrid ever made, and people are still waiting for its comeback. Number 8. The Lincoln Blackwood. In 2002, Lincoln decided the world needed a luxury pickup truck. The world disagreed. The Blackwood was based on the F-150 crew cab, but Lincoln took things to an absurd extreme. The cargo bed was lined with carpet, framed in polished aluminum, and covered by a powerlifting tonneau. Accessing it required navigating a split tailgate that felt more complicated than it needed to be. The bed was essentially a fancy trunk, completely useless for actual truck work. Inside, the cabin dripped with leather and wood trim, but the whole package cost a fortune and had no market. Lincoln sold fewer than 3,500 units in a single model year before pulling the plug. It was too expensive for truck buyers, too impractical for luxury buyers, and too weird for everyone else. Ironically, luxury trucks are now a massive market. Lincoln was just about 15 years too early and about 10 degrees too strange. They tried again with the Mark LT a few years later, but that also flopped. Sometimes being ahead of the curve is just as fatal as being behind it. Number 7. The Subaru Brat. The Subaru Bi-Drive Recreational All-Terrain Transporter. Yes, that is the full name. Introduced in 1978, the Brat was built on a car-derived platform with standard four-wheel drive, and it was never meant to compete with real trucks. Its most infamous feature, rear-facing jump seats bolted directly into the cargo bed. These were not an afterthought. They were a clever workaround for United States import regulations. By adding seats, Subaru could classify the Brat as a passenger vehicle instead of a light truck, avoiding the 25% chicken tax on imported pickups. The result was one of the quirkiest vehicles ever sold in America. It had a loyal following, including President Ronald Reagan, who owned one at his California ranch. The Brat was tough, simple, and utterly charming. Production ended in 1987, and clean examples have become extremely collectible. It ignored every convention in the truck world, and that is exactly why people loved it. Number 6. The Dodge Shelby Dakota. In the late 1980s, Dodge partnered with the legendary Carroll Shelby to create something no one expected, a muscle version of the compact Dakota. The Shelby Dakota arrived in 1989, packing a 5.2-liter V8 under the hood, producing about 175 horsepower. That may not sound wild by today's standards, but in a compact truck, it was significant. Shelby added his signature touches, including graphics on the windshield sides and tailgate, blacked-out grille and bumpers, fender flares, and performance suspension upgrades. Only 1,475 were ever built. Each one came with an electric fan, limited slip differential, gas pressure shocks, and a front stabilizer bar. The Shelby Dakota was one of the first modern compact muscle trucks, and it proved that small pickups could have serious attitude. Finding one today is a challenge. Owning one is a privilege. Number 5. The GMC Cyclone. In 1991, GMC did something absolutely insane. They took their modest S15 compact pickup and turned it into one of the fastest production vehicles in America. The Cyclone featured a turbocharged 4.3-liter V6, producing 280 horsepower, paired with all-wheel drive and a sport-tuned suspension. This truck could hit 60 miles per hour in 4.3 seconds. That is not a typo. In head-to-head tests by automotive magazines, the Cyclone beat a Ferrari 348 in a drag race. A pickup truck beat a Ferrari. Let that sink in. It also featured four-wheel anti-lock brakes, a digital dashboard, and aggressive body cladding. Only 2,998 were built, and every single one was painted black. The Cyclone was loud, fast, impractical, and absolutely glorious. It proved that a pickup truck could be a genuine performance machine, and nothing in the truck world has been quite the same since. Number 4. The Chevrolet SSR. In 2003, Chevrolet launched the Super Sport Roadster, and the automotive world collectively tilted its head. The SSR was a retro-styled convertible pickup inspired by the 1951 Chevrolet Advanced Design truck. It had a retractable hardtop, rear-wheel drive, and styling that looked more like a cartoon hot rod than a working vehicle. Early models came with a 5.3-liter V8, but Chevy later upgraded to a 6-liter V8, producing 390 horsepower. Underneath, it borrowed components from the Trailblazer SUV, which made it heavy, very heavy. Too heavy to be a sports car, too stylish to be a work truck, and too weird to be either. The SSR was a vehicle caught between worlds. Chevy produced it for just 3 years before pulling the plug in 2006. Fewer than 25,000 were built. Today, the SSR is a polarizing collectible. You either love its audacious weirdness, or you cannot figure out what Chevrolet was thinking. Either way, the SSR was proof that Detroit still had a sense of humor, even if the joke did not always land. Number 3. The Subaru Baja. In 2003, Subaru looked at their popular Outback wagon and made a decision that still baffles people today. They chopped off the rear and replaced it with a small truck bed. The result was the Baja, a vehicle that looked like an aftermarket conversion, but was actually a factory-built production model. It shared the Outback's platform, engines, interior, and most body panels. From the front quarter, you could barely tell them apart. But walk around to the back, and there it was. A stubby little bed that was too small for most truck tasks, but too present to ignore. The Baja came with all-wheel drive, a turbocharged option, and genuine Subaru reliability. But it confused buyers. Truck people did not want it. Car people did not need it. Subaru sold it for 4 model years before quietly retiring it in 2006 due to disappointing sales. And then, as these things always go, people started wanting one. Today, clean Bajas command premium prices, often exceeding $20,000 for low-mileage examples. Funny how that works. The trucks nobody wanted always seem to become the trucks everybody regrets not buying. Number 2. The Dodge Ram SRT-10. In 2004, Dodge did something that can only be described as beautifully reckless. They took the 8.3-liter V10 engine from the Dodge Viper, a legitimate supercar engine, and stuffed it into a Ram 1500 pickup truck. The result was 500 horsepower and 525 pound-feet of torque in a full-size truck with a 6-speed manual transmission. This thing hit 60 miles per hour in 4.9 seconds and topped out at over 150 miles per hour. In 2004, NASCAR driver Brendan Gaughan set a Guinness World Record for the fastest production truck, clocking 154.5 miles per hour. The SRT-10 got about 10.5 miles per gallon, and nobody cared. It was loud, fast, impractical, and unapologetically excessive. Only about 10,000 were built over 3 model years before production ended in 2006. It remains the most powerful factory pickup truck of its era. A Viper in work boots. Number 1. the Holden HSV Maloo. And at number 1, we leave America entirely to visit Australia, where the strangest and most spectacular pickup truck ever built was born. The Holden Special Vehicles Maloo was based on the Holden Commodore sedan, which itself was essentially a rebadged General Motors platform. But HSV turned the utilitarian ute into a genuine supercar with a truck bed. The final generation, the Gen FG TS Maloo, came with a supercharged 6.2-liter V8, the same LS9 engine found in the Chevrolet Corvette ZR1. It produced 585 horsepower and could hit 60 miles per hour in 4.2 seconds. This was a pickup truck that could embarrass Porsches, Ferraris, and practically anything else on four wheels. It came with a manual transmission, launch control, magnetic ride suspension, and massive Brembo brakes. The Maloo was produced from 1990 in various forms until 2017, when Holden ceased manufacturing in Australia. The final examples have become incredibly valuable, with some selling for hundreds of thousands of dollars at auction. It was the ultimate expression of the ute concept, a vehicle that could haul your surfboard to the beach in the morning and destroy a racetrack in the afternoon. No other pickup truck in history combined raw performance, daily usability, and sheer audacity, quite like the Maloo. And that is exactly why it sits at number 1. And there you have it. 25 of the strangest pickup trucks that no longer exist. From denim-upholstered Dodges to Viper-powered Rams, from one-year wonders to Australian supercars with truck beds, these vehicles prove that the pickup truck world is far weirder than most people realize. Which one was your favorite? And which strange truck did we miss? Drop your thoughts in the comments section below. If you enjoyed this ride through automotive history's strangest chapter, hit that like button. Subscribe and tap the notification bell so you never miss another video. Thanks for watching, and we will see you next time.